नमस्कार. आयच्या या खाशेल्या कार्यावळीत तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. आज आमचे बरोबर खास गेस्ट आसात ते CIIच्या गोवा चॅप्टराचे अध्यक्ष ब्लेज कॉस्टाबीर. ब्लेज, वेलकम टू द शो. First things first, how are you dealing with the lockdown? Let's discuss that and then move ahead.
Well, it's a big change. Good evening, and thank you for having me and CII on the show. But it's a big change. We're not used to being doing nothing the whole day, or mostly you're traveling, working, and now suddenly everything is. Even if you go out for something, it's like there's no one on the road. It's different.
From the economic perspective, now there are many. Somehow this is getting converted into a lives versus livelihood debate. How are you looking at it?
Well, this is not really only economy. This is also health. Now, most of the previous issues we dealt with, demonetization, GST, were basically economic issues.
Yeah.
This has another dimension to it. You can say, which is health.
Yeah.
It not only impacts industry, but it impacts everybody. And since everybody is involved, livelihood comes into the picture. And that is something at the moment looking very scary, especially for industry.
Yeah.
It is a scary situation. And we have to see how it's going to pan out from here.
What are your recommendations to the government? Because ultimately, I think we need all the ideas, all the expertise that is available with us to get through this. So, even government is caught up in the same dilemma. It is lives versus livelihood. Even in the last cabinet meeting, the whole discussion was revolving around lockdown cannot be the solution. Can we have a staggered opening? Can we still have a prolonged lockdown? Get it once and for all out of our way? How do you look at it?
See, the lockdown, when it was announced, industry, CII, our thinking, yes, we are behind the government and we have to support it. Immediately things. Now going forward as we get time, because this is an unprecedented situation and the government itself would not have faced something like this in the past. So definitely whatever comes out has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Yes, they are dealing with something new. And so some of the decisions were taken on the spur of the moment, then taken back, then rolled forward. So there is a learning curve here. Unfortunately, there is no time. And it has to happen live on the spot,
On the go.
On the go, yeah. One of the things that industry is asking for is this government has said that to protect the livelihood, they have made it mandatory for every company to pay the salary for it. That's the crux of the issue. Now we don't have any revenue. You have to understand that, okay, March was only 10 days. April we are looking at 15 days, but it might go to 30 days. And we are not sure what's going to happen. All the dues are still open. All the fixed costs are still pending before the company. So there's no revenue. You actually have to pay. Now, maybe the government has taken this decision, as I said at that time, in a good way. Now they have to look at it and see, one, they cannot support, even if the industry says you have to support us, they cannot be supporting everybody. Maybe some organized industry they can afford, but what about a pilot who's riding a motorcycle in Ponda, for example? How do you support him? So the government will have limitations in support. At the same time, this blanket pay salary and do not just pay everybody and everything, they have to look at it again. And I think industry would ask them to look at it, because there are things that you can adjust leave. There are some compensation package parts which, traveling allowance. You're not traveling, so maybe you can reduce that. Maybe the government allows industry to pay minimum wage, which is everybody gets their wage. And above that, they can negotiate and see how to do it. Someone says, okay, you work, we pay you. There's no work, we are paying you, but in future you make up. Or you adjust your leave against it, because everybody has to take a hit. It's not that only industry can take it. And if they stick to this thing, it's going to have a big effect on many companies. And ultimately, once we address this COVID issue, we are going to have to start, right? And if we don't start, if we don't have a company to start, if it's all gone down, where is the livelihood again? So you have to look at it in both ways. You have to protect the livelihood now and also protect it going forward. So I think there is some balancing required.
The question, I think you said it rightly. We are looking at 15 days in April, but it can be extended to a month. But many experts are also saying that lockdown is not an ultimate solution. You need to identify the clusters which are most affected, then go for containment and allow economic activity to slowly open up in other parts of the country. How do you look at it? Means you're supporting a prolonged lockdown, or you are saying that okay, we had a lockdown of 21 days, now we know which are the areas affected, contain them, maybe in a staggered way, open rest of the economic activities.
The way that everyone is looking, or that's how CI also would look at it, is yes, we had a lockdown. Now we know where the pockets are. Now we know what we have to do. So let us open whatever can, because even if you open today, or let's say on the 15th, it's not that it is starting as normal from the 16th.
Yeah.
There's going to be a big time lag for the wheels to turn around and start. Transport, logistics. The trucks are stuck all over the place. So you can't just say it will start. It will take at least another month before all these processes come online. So yes, a staggered opening would be something desirable.
Another question, very important question, is on two fronts. One, the joblessness front. What is the percent? Because I was talking to Goa IT Association, their preliminary estimate is a job loss to the tune of 30%. How is CII looking at it? What is the percentage that you are looking at that mentally we should be prepared for? And how should we deal with it?
Well, we don't have really any percentages at the moment. And most CII companies are looking at protecting the jobs already existing. But there is one component of these jobs, which is an important component, is the migrant labor. Now, during this lockdown, they would have gone back to their hometowns. They won't be allowed to travel so soon back. So to that extent, there will be some disruption. But I'm sure that in the next 2 or 3 months, that would once we open up, it will settle down. But that's part of the settling process. But overall, you have to see how everything else ties in. For example, the tourism and the hotel industry.
Yeah.
This was the season is already gone. Then comes the monsoon. So by the time they're looking at opening or something, it will be in November. So there in that sector, there's going to be no jobs. I mean, what would you open for? There's going to be no travel, or much travel, or there'll be limited travel. So that certain sectors might get hit harder or much more strongly than other industries.
From Goa's perspective, there was industry, mining, tourism. Mining, very difficult to start in present conditions. Tourism is going to take a very, very bad beating. How are you looking at economy of the state? What is the immediate fall down that we are looking at?
I think the chief minister already announced it 2 days ago when he said that industry can expect no help because the coffers of the state are dry or empty. So he's made the statement. He's being pragmatic about it because that's the truth. I mean, it was already not such a great, in 2008 when we went into a recession or into a slowdown, it came on the heels of a really good past. The industry was really doing well. This time, when we are going into the lockdown, it was not on a very great wicket that we were batting in economically. There was already GDP was slowing down and things. So going forward, it's going to be the same. We don't expect it to be more than 2% or something like that in the next couple of quarters or next 2 quarters. So
you're saying that growth will be less than 2%.
Yeah. So if that is the case, then automatically the state's coffers are also going to be hit.
Yes.
And so you can see that that's going to be the trickle down effect. So he's made a pragmatic statement.
Yeah, and one of our biggest GST collections were from tourism industry.
Yeah, and so that's got a hit massively. That's almost zero now.
Yeah. Last question: if you look at Goa, what is your advice to the government with present scenarios? How government needs to trade in this situation, because frankly, whatever ideas we need right now, we need those ideas to go forward and somehow tackle this, all the help that is required. What are, if you need to give government a 3-point program right now to handle the economy along with the lives, what those 3 points would be?
If you're asking me about the three things that we could possibly put forth to the government, is one is the staggered lockdown, removal of the lockdown in maybe in staggered phases, depending on the kind of information the government has with regard to the spread of the virus in different pockets. The second would be this rollback of or relook at the government directive on wages. We would like the government to pay, say, 50% of the wages, but assuming they cannot, then we should be allowed, or private sector should be allowed, complete freedom to decide whether they want to pay the wage, they want to roll back, have some pay cuts, they want to defer payment of wages, or they want to adjust leave going forward for the next 2-3 months. It should be left to each management and its employees, because even the survival of the unit or the industry is paramount going forward. The third thing would be, if dues like electricity, water, GST can be deferred for a period of 6 to 12 months, so that it would become like a loan but payable after some time and give some cash flow to the units going forward. And this would help to kind of alleviate the current situation, because it's not going to end in the next few months. I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity, and it's an unprecedented situation, and we have to keep trying to find the right solution. And as industry, we would like to work with the government to make sure that we come out of this, and we will come out of this stronger. Thank you.
हे आशिल्ले ब्लेज कोस्तावीर, गोंय CII चे अध्यक्ष. तांणी काय पर्टिनंट इश्यूज रेज केल्यात. सरकारान कितें करचें सो दॅट प्रत्येकान मातशी हीट घेवन जॉब कोणाचो वचचो ना किंवा कमीत कमी लोकांचे वचचे, ह्या खातीर कितें करपाची गरज आसा. आनी सरकारा कडच्यान तांकां बाकीची पॅकेज हाय काय मेळपाक शकना, पण इंटरनली थोडे रिऑर्गनायझेशन करून ते मॅक्झिमम जॉब कशें साल्वार करप हाजे विशीं ताणें कांय कल्पना दिल्यात. तर थँक्स अ लॉट फॉर टॉकिंग टू अस. म्हाका दिसता ह्या दिसांनी this exchange of ideas is most important. We'll keep talking to you again as the situation progresses. Thanks a lot. Prudent. Namaskar.